Hello and welcome to Slow Night Ancient Tales. Tonight's story is Lee Hyo-seok's A Vignette, adapted for easy listening from the 1939 original. It follows two friends, Hyeonbo and Jaedo, who once dreamed of literature together as young men, and their bittersweet reunion years later as two very different people. When Hyeonbo learned that Jaedo had betrayed him, his first reaction was fury, but that anger soon gave way to a strange, resigned sense that perhaps it made sense after all. That night, over drinks, Hyeonbo finally threw his glass in Jaedo's face. How could a person's heart grow so cold? Jaedo tried to explain himself, but Hyeonbo could no longer hear the words. The man before him had grown almost unrecognizably heavier, and something about him now felt fundamentally different, as though an uncrossable distance now separated them. Hyeonbo turned the memory over in his mind, tracing back through the years. After finishing school, Hyeonbo had left his hometown and spent years wandering, unsettled. His family's situation strained, the household cold under the shadow of his father's troubles. While he drifted, Jaedo, who had stayed behind, slowly became someone else. He set aside the fervent ideals they had once shared and devoted himself entirely to securing his own future. By the time the two reunited years later, Jaedo stood on the verge of a secure, respectable position, and it was in pursuit of that position that he had chosen to turn his back on his old friend. How could a person change so completely? For Hyeonbo, it remained an unsolved riddle. Looking back, their friendship had begun in middle school. Like so many young people, the two had once shared a pure passion for literature, putting together a small handmade magazine with friends to pass around. The writing was clumsy and unpolished, but the enthusiasm behind it was entirely genuine. As the years passed and their other friends drifted away one by one, only Hyeonbo and Jaedo remained close. One memory stood out. After a gathering at Hyeonbo's house drew a scolding from his father, Hyeonbo, upset, drank for the first time in his life. A few days later, a postcard arrived from Jaedo, a photograph of a beloved author, along with a few comforting words. It meant more to Hyeonbo than he could say, and it deepened the bond between them. In their final year before university, the two friends decided to enter a New Year's literary competition together. The night they gathered to read their stories aloud to one another, huddled for warmth, encouraging each other. That night remained a cherished memory, but the results were unkind. Both were rejected. That night, fueled by drink, Jaedo declared boldly, "Don't be discouraged. Someday, I'll start a magazine of my own, and when I do, I'll publish as many of your stories as you like." It was only much later that Hyeonbo understood those bold words had really been a way of masking his own disappointment and quiet surrender to literature. At university, the two continued to share an interest in social ideas, both joining the same study group for a time. One incident from that period stuck vividly in Hyeonbo's memory. During a long, tedious meeting, someone, out of sheer frustration, smashed a teacup and shouted at the room. That reckless act had been Jaedo's doing. Though a senior student scolded him harshly for it, Jaedo simply lowered his head and said nothing in his own defense. And somehow, that silence had carried a strange kind of dignity that Hyeonbo never forgot. There was another night, too. Drinking together late, Jaedo had spoken cynically about the people in their study group. Angered, Hyeonbo struck him across the face without thinking. But Jaedo again offered no retort, only quietly stated his own view. It seems our ways of thinking are fundamentally different. Looking back, Hyeonbo would come to see that single sentence as a quiet, unconscious forewarning of the different paths the two of them were destined to take. That's all for tonight's story. Two young men who once shared the same dream, growing over the years into entirely different people. It's a story that leaves much to sit with. Everyone changes in the end. Perhaps what truly defines a person is what they choose to hold on to and what they let go. Set down today's thoughts for now and walk gently into sleep. Have a warm night. Sleep well.